5 bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's go!
Let's go! Firefighters!
Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a moment, we'll join Chief Cody and Tim Collins as they speed to the scene of the big waterfront fire, a fire that called them away from the big benefit party at the luxurious estate of Saxon Sims, wealthy exporter who staged the party for the Firemen's Benefit Association, of which Chief Cody is president. Well, after a pleasant evening, during which they were shown some of the strange automatic gadgets for which the Saxon Sims mansion is famous, their fun is cut short by the waterfront fire. Well, as they speed to the fire, it develops the warehouse belongs to their party host, Saxon Sims. Now, we'll be riding with them very shortly, straight into one of the strangest fire mysteries on record. But right now, let's listen to this message. Let's go, firefighters. Let's join Chief Cody and Tim in the Chief's high-powered car as they speed to the scene of the big waterfront fire, a fire that took them suddenly away from the benefit party in the Saxon Sims mansion. There's nothing unusual about a fireman being pulled away from a party by a blaze. But what is unusual is the location of this particular fire. As they siren their way through the dark streets, the chief says...
Of all the nights for a big fire to break, the night Saxon Sims is giving a party for the Firemen's Benefit Association.
Yes, sir. I was just getting interested in the party, too. Boy, what a mansion Mr. Sims has.
Yeah, quite a joint, all right, with those automatic gadgets. I thought the place was haunted when my car disappeared right before my very eyes.
Yes, sir. A disappearing driveway.
Yeah.
A pretty clever way to park cars in a hurry, though.
He's a clever man, all right. What I liked was his library. One clap of his hand, a wall disappears. It turns into a workshop.
Yes, sir, and right in the middle of our conducted tour of the place, we have to dash off to a fire.
Well, that's the life of a firefighter.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Tim, get headquarters on the radio. I want to check that location again. They only had general information on the phone.
Yes, sir. Chief Cody calling headquarters.
Headquarters, go ahead.
Headquarters, what's the exact location of that waterfront fire?
Just came in. Southwest corner, River and Marlboro.
Right. Thanks, headquarters.
River and Marlboro. Good heavens.
What is it, Chief?
You know what building that is, son?
I'm afraid I don't recall, sir.
That's the warehouse of Saxon Sims.
Oh, good grief, what a coincidence.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, it's an old building, wood. Probably be a quick burner.
Oh, gee, what a tough break for Mr. Sims. He gives a benefit for the firemen and is repaid by a fire in his own warehouse.
Fire is no respecter of persons or places, as you well know, Tim. I only hope the boys are able to save part of it anyway.
Chief Cody's worst fears are realized. By the time he and Tim roll up to the scene, the entire block-long building is a raging mass of flames. As the chief and Tim pile out, Deputy Chief Dan Moore hurries up.
Sorry to get you out on your off-duty night, Chief, but when I heard it was the Sims warehouse...
Well, of course, Moore. You'd be failing your duty if you didn't call me. Bad, huh?
Yep, a real burner. In a matter of minutes, the whole top story was involved. I've got 2 engine companies, 3-1s and 209, hook and ladder and rescue. About all we can do is contain her, I'm afraid.
Yeah, she's done for, all right. What about that warehouse across the street? Better keep an eye on that.
3-1s is covering at the end of the block. We're watching it. Don't worry, Chief.
You say rescue's here? Any casualties?
No, but the report that came in said the fire started by an explosion. I thought there might be leaking gas or chemical fumes.
Good work, Moore.
Do you wish to take over, sir, or shall I?
Oh, you carry on. Everything's under control. Besides, I'd be a pretty sight directing operations in this monkey suit.
Oh, yeah, the Sims party. I heard about it. Say, and it's his warehouse, too. That's a strange...
Yeah, a very strange quirk of fate. After what he's done for the Firemen's Benefit Association, I'm sorry this had to happen.
Uh-oh. Hey, there's Mr. Sims now, just getting out of that limousine.
I'll get back on the job, Chief.
Right, Moore. Better have 3-1s wet down the face of that warehouse across the street, just to be safe.
Right, Chief. Lieutenant Kennedy, shift a couple of lines across the street.
Good heavens, Chief. What a catastrophe. Isn't there something you can do to...
Beyond saving, Mr. Sims. An old building, and it must have had a head start. But all we can do is keep it from touching off surrounding property.
Terrible, terrible. How did it ever start, I wonder?
Deputy Chief said an explosion. Was there anything in the building, any gases or inflammable liquids?
No, not that I know of. Oh, let me see. I'm sure...
Here's Deputy Chief Moore. Let's see what he has to say.
Right.
Moore, step over a minute, will you?
Right, Chief.
This is Mr. Sims, owner of the building.
How do you do?
How do you do?
He says as far as he knows, there were no gases or inflammable liquids that might have caused an explosion. What did your report say?
That it started with a loud explosion. I checked witnesses, and several reported the same thing. They heard a great noise on the second floor, then saw all the southeast corner burst into flames.
Southeast corner, second floor.
Yeah.
What was stored there, Mr. Sims?
Nothing, Chief Cody. That's a sort of laboratory where we mix and process certain spices and food products that my company imports from the Far East.
Laboratory, huh?
Yes.
Then there could have been inflammable liquid stored there.
Yes, sir, or gas.
Yes, the lab technician often used a Bunsen burner. Say, I wonder, do you suppose that he could have...
Left the gas turned on?
Yes.
Well, it's possible, Mr. Sims. What is your lab technician's name?
Oh, but I'm sure he wouldn't have done that. He's a very careful man.
Still, I think it's worth checking. We always like to track down the cause of every fire, you know.
Of course, Chief. And I want to help you get to the bottom of this, too. His name is Jerome Jessup. Here's his address.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sims. We'll look into it tomorrow. I'm terribly sorry this had to happen to you, sir, after all you've done for the fire service.
It's a great shock and a loss, to be sure, but I know you and your men have done everything you can.
Well, it's very little, I'm afraid. These old buildings are like tinder boxes.
Yes, sir. She's almost burned out already. There goes the last wall into the basement now.
Yeah. Well, Moore, you can secure hook and ladder and rescue. Keep the 2 engine companies standing by to overhaul.
Right, Chief.
Once again, Mr. Sims, I'm mighty sorry this had to happen to a friend of the fire service like you.
Oh, forget it, Chief. And if there's anything I can do to help in the investigation, just let me know.
Well, you've already been a help. Our first step tomorrow will be get a hold of that lab technician of yours, Jerome Jessup.
The next forenoon finds Chief Cody sitting at his desk in headquarters with a deep and thoughtful frown across his brow. He has spent the morning on the Sims warehouse case trying to track down the origin of the devastating fire. And what he has learned leaves him perplexed and still in the dark as to the cause. He's so deep in his concentration that he fails to look up as Tim appears in the door.
Busy, Chief?
Hmm? Oh, hello, Tim. No, come on in, son. I'm just in a fog.
Yes, sir. How are you coming with the investigation?
Not so good, I'm afraid.
Did you talk to Jessup, the lab technician?
Yes, he just left a moment ago. That's what's got me in a fog.
Oh? Doesn't he know anything about it?
Not a thing. Furthermore, he thinks the explosion by gas theory is all wet.
Why? How
well,
does
he says that while there was a gas line in the lab, it hasn't been used for months. He used an electric hot plate for his experiments instead of a Bunsen burner.
Well, apparently Mr. Sims didn't know that.
Apparently not. Jessup also says there was no inflammable liquids or gases stored in the lab, so that rules out the possibility of explosion by any other means.
Yes, sir, and yet witnesses say there was a terrific explosion.
Yeah.
I was just reading the account of it in the paper here.
Well, quite a front-page spread.
Yes, sir.
Total loss. Cause explosion of undetermined origin. Covered by insurance, I see.
Yes, sir. That's lucky for Mr. Sims.
But what I'd like to know is what caused that explosion. Tim,
Yes, Chief.
did you notice that little item at the bottom of the page?
Where? Oh. Oh, no, sir. I didn't read it.
Listen. The entire crew of the freighter Katie D, which sank mysteriously off New Guinea en route from Sumatra to this country, arrived safely in Brisbane. The Katie D, carrying Far Eastern food products, was under the charter of the S. Sims steamship line.
Saxon Sim. Well, of course, he owns a steamship line, too, doesn't he?
Yeah, now on top of losing his warehouse by fire, he's lost a ship. Mysteriously sunk off the coast of New Guinea.
Oh, gee, poor Mr. Sims. He's sure having tough luck.
Tough luck? I wonder, Tim. I'm just beginning to wonder.
What does Chief Cody mean by that? that he's beginning to wonder about the luck of Saxon Sims, the wealthy exporter who has demonstrated himself to be such a generous friend to the fire service. What exactly is in the back of Chief Cody's mind as he reads this small news item at the bottom of the page about the sinking of the Katy D, which sailed under the charter of Saxon Sims? To learn the next development in this thrilling fire drama, listen to the next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own town. But first, here's a message you ought to hear. And now, Chief Bob Cody with a special message for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. I read a humorous little piece in my fire prevention magazine the other day. Seems they had a fire in a small town. And guess where it was? In the town's own fire station. And guess how it started? A fireman sat down with a box of matches in his hip pocket and set his pants on fire. No damage done, according to the report, but it sure taught that fireman a lesson. Never to carry non-safety or wooden stick matches around in his pocket. And it's a good lesson for everyone, too. Remember, what burns may be you. So take care of matches, won't you? Well, that's all for now. Till I drop in next time. So long.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's go!
Let's go! Firefighters!
Firefighters is a copyrighted feature of William F. Holland Productions.